Hello, everyone. Welcome back. In my last episode, I mentioned how I had around $7,000 worth of credit card debt. So I spent the last couple days working this video out for you guys. So I'm going to be talking about credit cards, obviously, and how we as Gen Z can use it for the better. I think we are very under knowledged, if that is a term, about our credit cards. And maybe we think we do know some, but with all these buy now, pay later, it can be very difficult to understand how everything works. So I went ahead, wrote this up, and I hope you guys enjoy. So let's jump right into it. As you know, we are Gen Z, but one thing you might not know is we have the lowest credit card debt of any generation. But unfortunately, we are also the fastest growing generation with debt, considering, we're growing into adulthood, we're able to get credit cards, and that way the debt is growing. And we are also the generation with the highest interest rates, which sucks. But that leads to us having the highest regrets as well. One thing no one tells you about credit cards is that it isn't free money as much as you might think it is, right? You swipe it, boom, your credit card doesn't take a hit. So it feels like free money. It's not a scam. A lot of people think credit cards are a scam because of all the egregious interest rates and the little things they hide in their fine print, but it's not a scam, and it's also not a flex. You see a lot of people flexing their credit cards, their Amex Platinums, their Gold cards, their MasterCard, whatever, their Chase Reserves. The thing is, none of it is a flex. When you show off your American Express Platinum, you're telling people you pay $800 a year for a credit card that you're probably not going to use to travel. And that is very important, what each credit card is for. That could be an episode for another day, but right now we're going to talk about credit cards as a whole. And the most important thing about credit cards is that it's a tool. You're supposed to use it correctly to build your entire financial future, because you need to have a good credit score before you can even afford to buy a home. If you do it wrong, you might get higher interest rates when you want to have a home in your 30s because you spent your 20s maxing out your credit cards. Or maybe you won't even be approved for a home because, once again, they're maxed out and you don't show any credit worthiness to pay it back. So, what do credit cards actually do? Think about it. Why is it called a credit card? Why is it called a debit card? In finance, I went to accounting. A credit is money out, a debit is money in. So, that's one way to think about it. But credit cards are different because when you swipe a debit card, you're spending your own money. When you swipe a credit card, you're borrowing money from a bank and promising to pay it back. So every single time you swipe your credit card, even if it's for a $1 thing, it is now a $1 loan on your name. And it is something we need to think about when you're using the bank's money, because it's not your money. Sure, in the short term, all these little loans aren't a harm, $10 here, $30 there, and maybe you have a really low credit limit like $500, but $500 can run out very quickly if you're spending around $20 a day. You'd be over, actually, because it'd be about $600 on your balance if you spend only $20 a day, which is incredibly important to think about every single time you use your credit card. Now, if you do have a higher credit limit, use lower percentage. You should always use no more than 21%. Some people say 30. I say keep it as low as you can, because you want to be able to pay it back in full. 20% of $100 is about $20. So you want to use $20 on your credit card, right? And you go, well, what can I buy with $20? Well, keep it open, do small purchases, and then get a larger credit balance. Banks will love to give you credit balances if you show you can pay it back, because the higher balance you gain, the more interest, right? And the only way to get a higher balance is for the banks to give you higher credit limits. So be very careful about that. Try to stick to only 30% of your total credit limit. That way you're in a safe space. $500, 20%, but do that. Now, what is the number one rule everyone always tells you about credit cards to always do? And one thing we tend to forget about, right? You might just leave a small balance on your card, but you're growing interest on that $20, maybe 20%, depending on what your rate is. And 20% a year might be small, but $20 every single month, it will add up. And that is something you don't want doing, because if you get in a habit of leaving balances on your card, like I have, you will only do minimum payments just to get it over with. And now I'm in the process of trying to cut down as much spending as I can, which I have been, to send all my money to my credit card, which is slowly starting to get chipped away. Now, Do you know what an APR is? Or an annual percentage rate? That is how much you get charged in interest every single year, right? Your credit card might be 25 to 30. A mortgage for 30 years is about 7%. A car loan right now is about 8 or 9% for about 5 to 7 years. So think about that. 22% a year on a balance, right? On my $7,000 balance, I pay about $120 a month on interest. My minimum payment is $230. So if I only pay the minimum balance of that $230 and my interest payment is $110, only $120 of it is going to my total principal of $7,000. I want you to have that set in your mind. Half of my payment only goes to my actual principal. The other thing is getting eaten away by my interest rate. So please make sure you pay everything off as soon as you can. If you let your balance sit and only do minimum payments, in the charts, they will show you how long it will take, and it can take up to 20 years. So I want you guys to go through, if you have a credit card, or even if you're planning on getting a credit card, read through those terms. It is incredibly important. Look for any secret fees that you might get, annual fees. If you're new, maybe you have a charge card where you have to put the money on, so you're lending your own money to yourself that the bank will use for you. And what is all of this even for? Your credit score. Your credit score defines all this. In a lot of situations when you're young, you need a credit score to get a credit card, but you can't get a credit card until you have a credit score, and you can't get any credit until you have a credit score. So it's like this really long thing that you're trying to figure out. So let's talk about your credit score, which is only 3 numbers. The highest is like 800 something. You know, a lot of people will be like, oh, $850, but 850 credit score, sorry. But it could range from 300 to 850, let's call it. And this is how creditors see how trustworthy you are. And it tells lenders, landlords, and sometimes even your employers how good you're with your money, which you have to think about. Your landlord will look at your credit score and decide if he will give you a home. And that is something that is happening a lot. If you want to move out and apply for an apartment or a home or anything, they will run your credit to see if you are able to pay them back or if you have historically paid back your debts. And right now, the average credit score for Gen Z is about 680, which is good, but you want to be in the upper hundreds, 700s to 800. So we do have a lot of work to do. I think we are being a lot smarter about it. But one thing hiding all these little debts is the buy now, pay laters like Klarna, Afterpay, and these other ones. So you have to be very careful about them because they're a different animal all on their own. So once again, that will be something for a different episode. So how is your credit card affect your credit to go up? Well, obviously paying it off, your minimum balance, and they call it credit utilization, your payment history. Have you ever been late? So those are all things that appreciate. So your credit score is pretty much built on over, do you pay every time? How much do you use your credit? How much available credit are you using? Which is, again, how much credit do you have and how much do you use it? And then 10% is like, how many credit accounts do you even have? Do you have a personal loan, a car loan, a mortgage, a credit card, a student loan? Do you pay all these? Incredibly, different types of loans are sort of required to show you're able to prove more because it can show you're good with debt. I have a car payment. I pay it off every single month. So my credit score goes up, right? But your credit score actually doesn't even go up until you're in the later half of those payments. And once it's gone off your credit entirely, which is another very important thing. Sure, it will show you get a personal loan and you pay it very fast. Your credit score might not go up as much as if you waited for it to mature all the way to like the 3-year limit. So make sure you have multiple different types of credit if you are able to do it. Budget everything. See how much money you make. That way you're able to work out how much of your credit card can you use. You give yourself a $150 a week budget on food, right? For one person, I think it's a lot. I spend a lot less with my partner, but maybe you want a $150 a week budget on food, and that includes going out and maybe even some like movies, right? We'll include it. If you're gonna put it on a credit card, stay within that limit that you have budgeted and pay it in full as soon as you can near the end of the month, so it's recorded for your credit. That is very important. Budget everything if you're gonna be using your credit card because you do not want to be stuck paying large amounts on a credit card. It's unbelievable. Now, one important thing is, how do you build your credit? The way you build credit from nothing is, well, you need to get a secure card. A secure card is where you put a deposit down, which is your own money. Like I said, a charge card. I guess was the wrong name. You use it. It's your credit limit. So you give them $200, and they will lend you your $200 back. That is how you get started, pretty much. You will have to give them money for them to give it to you, for you to prove to them you can pay your debts. Think about that. Well, if you're a student, usually you have alternatives. Your school might be partnered with a bank or a credit institution who will give you student credit cards for you to start building your credit off, which is great. If you're with the school, they have no annual fees and tend to have better interest rates because you're a student and they want you to get into the lingo of things. Now, one secret that maybe not even your parents know about is they can make you an authorized user on their credit cards, right? That's what my dad did for me. When I was 16, he put me as an authorized user on his credit card. So when I turned 18, I had an automatic credit score of 700. So that is a cheat code, right? Because you keep his historical data and they see it as yours. But you won't affect his unless, of course, you use his card. But my dad never did because, well, I didn't know how to use credit cards, so he didn't think I should. And I started using credit cards as soon as I turned 18, and I would always pay them full. I was always good. And then if you would have seen my last episode, you know, a lot of my credit card debt did go into my business, and right now I'm working on paying it back. But I can't complain right now because it is cash flowing. It's doing great. It can be scary, but you know, it works out, and I'm getting all my debts paid off, which is the most important thing. Now, is there any reward to credit cards other than, you know, misery and debt? There is. A lot of credit cards will get you offers like cashback, travel points, which is one way they also hook you. They'll say, oh, you need to spend $3,000 on this card within the first 3 months and you get 80,000 points, right? And you're like, oh, okay, I could do 80,000 points. Well, 80,000 points is only like $800, and you're spending $3,000 for $800, and maybe you don't even pay back your $3,000 to get your $800 back. I need you to think about that. If you're gonna be getting these bonuses and rewards, make sure your balance is zero. Because then it's not really a reward, because maybe those $800 you used to pay back your $3,000, you know, debt, and you're still stuck with $2,200. Do not do that. Don't be dumb and do that, all right? Now, there's so many traps that credit cards do for you, like minimum payments, like we said. Don't do minimum payments, do big payments. Cash advances are something also very scary. You can have a credit card with a $7,000 balance like mine, and I can go to the bank and say, I want to withdraw $2,000 in cash. And they'll go, okay, sure. So I will owe $2,000 in cash on my credit card, plus like a 3% fee that they charge for pulling out money. And they will start charging you interest immediately. And the rate is even higher than just doing a regular credit card. It can be at times. So make sure you read about that before you even think about pulling any money from your credit card. Don't do that. And then there's buy now, pay later. Easy 4 payments is harmless enough. And we'll go into deeper on another episode, but you can rack up so much debt on these 4 payments that it just doesn't work. So don't do that. Well, I hope you guys took something about this. If you have no credit or even have a credit card, even if you're stuck in debt, I hope you took something away from this. One small thing I would recommend for credit cards, put like your Apple Music, your Spotify, Netflix, or Max. They're very small amounts that you can easily pay back because you do it either way. Only do small things. A lot of people say just do your gasoline, but if you drive a lot, it'll be better for you. Or even worse, you know, because you sometimes forget it's not your money. So make sure you always know it's your money. And make sure you always pay it back. I'm only telling you guys this because I learned the hard way about credit cards. And I want to make sure you guys are safe when you are playing with yours. And I want you guys to have an amazing credit score overall. And don't want any debts. Debts are bad. And as Gen Z, we have watched everyone else be in debt and what it can cause. So I think it's better for all of us if we stay out of debt. Thank you and bye.